Hello there. So, Astrakhan's Feather episode 24. Now, I had a late night last night. I went to an awards ceremony which my company was running, and I didn't get home till about 1:30 in the morning, and it was pouring with rain. Just thought I'd tell you that. Anyway, Astrakhan's Feather. I've cut a little bit out here, which is what I did when I did the abridged version, which is called Christ, right? It was a lot simpler than this one, but I like the depth of this. Having said that, I've cut a bit of it out. So anyway, Bob Mullins, a sergeant, local sergeant, he's turned up at Christ's house, right? And they have a bit of a chat about all sorts of things, about Christ seeing Jenny. You know, she's deceased. We don't know why or how yet, but no doubt we will eventually. And anyway, Mullins has turned up. Him and Christ are friends. Christ is an ex-inspector at Bone Mountain. He has been on sick leave for a while following the mysterious death of his wife. And, okay, so what happens is, and remember going back, right, there have been a few murders. I'm not going to recap it all. I don't like the recaps. I really don't. Anyway, let's go on. So, okay. Anyway, Bob, says Christ, what brings you here this fine morning? They're at Christ's house. Mullins coughs and looks intently at his splayed hands on the table. Wanted to see you, he said gruffly. He looks at Christ. Should have been up a while ago. It says the fig bird. I thought there was a fig bird in the garden, right? I was trying to figure out what this scrabbly bird was that has no fear. But it's not a fig bird. It's a male bowerbird, right? So anyway, the bowerbird looked at Mullins, head cocked to one side. He stared back at it and his beady eye out of the corner of his own eye. Shoo it away. It's doing no harm, Bob, says Christ. Mullins shakes his head and glares at the bird, which suddenly tweets long and loud. Mullins rummages in his trouser pocket and brings the ball out. He lays it on the table halfway. It rolls a touch, then sits. The ball's a colour of dull metal, but with embedded red flecks. Christ looks at it with his head cocked. He squints at it. When it has rolled, he'd seen the sparkle. When it had rolled, he'd seen the sparkle. Pick it up, whispered Mullins. Christ breathes in deep. For a moment, Mullins thought he might be sniffing for evidence. This went through a glass window, then embedded itself in a man, said Christ. Ray Lucas, if I'm not much mistaken. Christ rolls his head back and forth slowly on his neck, cracking the bones, still making no move to touch the ball. Headshot blew the whole of the back of his skull out. Mullins leans forward, frowning. How do you know that? Christ reaches out and picks the ball up. He throws it maybe 6 inches in the air, catches it, holds it tight in his fist, weighing the ball in his hand. What you have here, Bob, is a musket ball circa, I don't know, maybe late 1700s, early 1800s, but definitely no later than 1806, which is pretty specific. How do you know? Asked Mullins. Christ smiles briefly as he looks at the musket shot. Come February of 06, there was more steel, lower lead content. They'd learnt how to work steel more effectively. Before then, spheres like this one you got here, balls for muskets, they were all lead. Easily worked, gave you a perfect ball. Problem with lead is it's soft. Fires out of a gun is distorting even in the barrel, getting out of shape, so it doesn't go much distance. It's got too much friction compared with a ball of steel. Yes, when that lead ball hits a man, it distorts completely. That's what causes all the damage. Yeah, it certainly caused a lot of damage, said Bob Mullins quietly. It would, says Christ. The later ones are steel balls, a smaller weight, less better form, more effective. They didn't distort once out of the barrel, or at least not noticeably. Christ weighs the ball in his hand again. This one here is pure lead, so quite soft but heavier. The reason it rolled then stopped when you put it on the table was it's been fired. It's been through glass, my guess. It's been inside someone. Mullins leans back, raises his eyebrows and chuffs. He goes, what? He goes, lead musket balls, says Christ, expand when they enter a person's body, often causing a large exit wound, deforming the ball so it ends up being not quite spherical. How'd you know it had been through a window? Through glass, Bob. Pay attention, mate. Well, when it rolled just now, it sparkled. Glass was embedded in the lead, so it must have passed through glass at speed. So I'm guessing the window of Victoria Lucas's Mercedes. Mullins scratches his head. Christ, looking closely at the musket ball, rotates it between finger and thumb. Looks at Bob and says quietly, barely more than a whisper, "Ray's blood. My guess is headshot because there's a remains of body tissue right there and amongst the lead. The lead's soft, absorbs anything it hits. You'll never get it out unless you melt the lead back down. I reckon that small amount of brain, it isn't going to be of any use to Ray now." Christ grunts as he places the ball back on the table. "What are we looking at here, Christ?" A bowerbird chirrups. Both men look at it, then at each other. Puzzle to me is why he would use a musket, an old-fashioned weapon that'd not be too accurate, would demand close firing, which would raise the risk of being caught, not to mention he'd have to be a good shot. These guns been heavy and giving a right kick. We both know there's enough modern weaponry floating around out there to start a small war. "Yes," says Mullins, "and there's also the perennial, the motive." "Well," says Christ, "Ray Lucas is one of those blokes everybody thinks they know. When it comes down to it, no one really knows anything much at all about a bloke like that. Either there's nothing there or there's plenty and it's all well hidden. Latter would be my guess. According to his wife..." "Ah, yes, I heard you'd been out there smooching with her." Christ laughs. "She needed comforting, Bob. Nothing more than that." He shakes his head. "Schmooting? Schmooting? Schmooting? Geez, Bob, that's so 1990s. Mullins sniffs. "Nothing wrong with the 90s. This time, the bowerbird squawks and flees, wings beat in the air as it climbs into the shimmering blue sky. They both watch it fly away until Christ said, "So how's the new inspector?" "Acting inspector," says Mullins. "That's until you come back. She's out of her depth." Christ smiles. "You told me that too, 2 days after I started." Mullins shakes his head. "I can see you'd come good." "Oh, yeah, sure. You say that now, Bobby." Mullins glares at Christ across the table. "She's a pom. She'll never fit in here. All arrogant. Thinks she knows it all. She's got this case and she'll sink. You'll see." Christ looks at the Sarge coolly. "You must be getting old. You seem to have forgotten you said the same things about Jenny, almost word for word." Mullins shifts uneasily. Jenny is Jenny." Christ considers him and says nothing. Far overhead, the bowerbird squeals and disappears. All right, I'm going to leave it there because that's 7 minutes 22, and that is long enough, I feel. So listen, make sure you subscribe. Do it even if you don't like it and you're not interested in it, because it would help me, right? Why not help people? It's at no cost to you. So please just do subscribe. And I have reached over 100 subscribers, as you'll have noticed. I got a little message from YouTube about that. So you've got over 100. I'm thinking, oh my, well, it's not very many, is it? But it's getting there. It's getting there, right? So, yeah, thanks. And we'll talk again tomorrow, promise.